Graham, good to see you again. I'll start again, as always, with last night. Good to get back to winning ways for you as a team. Firstly, bodies-wise, how has Caden Jackson fared? Is that picture any clearer?
No, he's going to see somebody tomorrow morning, so just to assess everything. He's got a protective thing on his leg at the minute just to keep it in place. So it's around his knee. So we're gonna. He's going to go and see somebody tomorrow and assess that, and then we'll have some more information. Everyone else got through the game well. All the other boys trained this morning, so apart from Caden, he's the only missing player today.
We touched on it last night, but just how pleasing was it to, I suppose, get back to winning ways for one, but to face a different challenge in the form of Rotherham and get that result over the line in the way that you did?
Yeah, I think... Well, we want to win all our games, so it's our only intention every time we take to the pitch. But I think we spoke about last night, the level of competition at all the levels in England is fierce, and we have to work exceptionally hard to win any game of football. And most teams do, so we never kid ourselves into thinking any game will be easier, because they've all got different challenges. They're all hard, but for different reasons, and derbies are always fiercely competitive, and I think we saw that in the game last night. But I 100% thought we deserved to win the game. I think apart from the little the set piece at the end where they had the opportunity, I think we defended really well. We had a lot of composure in good moments, and scored a wonderful header. It was a fantastic header. I couldn't stop watching it last night. It was just amazing. Just how he committed to it. It was so good. But that's the difference between winning and losing. We talk about all the time, that commitment to the action, and it came from a quick set piece. Playing fast, not overthinking things, and I think that's when we're at our best, and it's just about replicating that as often as possible. Yeah,
I wanted to ask you about that specifically. Is that goal, the way it came about, the quick free kick, as you say, the delivery from Tyreek, and the endeavour to get on the end of it from Matthew, is that an illustration of what this team is, what you want it to be?
Well, it's what this team is at its best. That's it. When you've seen these moments, and they don't always come off. Excuse me, they don't always come off. But the intention's got to be there. The commitment's got to be there. I think we actually had a quick free kick just before it, which led to it. So they stopped that, and then we got it down, played again, and I think that's what we want to try and do. I think we do it quite well at home. I think we got sucked in once to playing a really slow game here, and it was the Burton game when we got beat. But since then, I think we've played in that fast manner. It's just replicating that away from home, which we keep talking about. But the evidence is there for the players to commit to that type of action. I think because we got the players, I think our set play XG is quite high in the division. But I actually think we create more when we're in open play. So I think the more often we can just get the ball and play, I think it's better for us. And it was really quick thinking from Max, great ball from Tyreek, and just watching Peno steam in from the edge of the box, and it was almost like no one else was in the box. Yeah. There was no shirking of, I might get hurt here or anything. He just fully committed to the action. It's honestly, I love watching it, and because I just think that does. I think you're right. I think it epitomises what this team is at its best.
I wanted to ask you as well about Tyreek's progression. In his own words last night, I finally got him to admit that he's a wing back. I know that he said in the past that he's a winger, but he considers himself a wing back. He says that this season is his favourite season of his career, both when on the field, away from the field as well. He's happy. What have you seen in Tyreek's game? You've obviously worked for him now for a good period of time, and how has he, I guess, taken on the responsibility of that role and what you're asking of him?
Well, I see a real determination from him. I think the going forward thing, the running behind, take people on the crosses, and getting in the box is natural for his game. That's his winger, personality coming through. But I've seen a real determination and focus on his defensive side of the game. He's tucking around and when I think we missed a header, I think it might have been after the goal from the kickoff, and he gets around and dive heads it back to Sam. Some of his aerial challenges were great. I think his 1v1 defending is really superb. I think he's really gone, actually, if I can improve this part of my game, then I'm an all-round player, like as a wing-back. And I think, look, we like versatile players. We like players, and Tyreek's had to play one up sometimes, and maybe that would have been seen as his natural position 18 months ago, 2 years. But I did say to him when I signed him, when we wanted to sign him, that it was going to be as a wing back. I saw his attributes there, and I think he's just grown into it. I think this year I've seen a much more settled Tyreek, really confident. If he's on the bench, if he starts up in the front three, if he starts at wing back, he's just the same all the time. Really, really committed, great teammate for everybody else, fit as anything. Touch wood. That's the only thing that we've had in the past with him, and we've tried to be careful with him to build him up. And I think he's getting more confident, and you do see that side of him. He's a great lad. No one's had an issue with Tyreek in 2 years. He's a great lad, and I'm glad he's enjoying his football, because it looks like it.
Well, and just to build on what he said last night and apply it more generally, in that he's playing his most minutes, I think he said, this season, because he knows, as well as everybody knows, that he needs to manage his minutes because of the injuries that you spoke about in the past. And it feeds into that wider point, doesn't it, of managing players, managing workloads, being mindful of limitations and whatnot. We've just been speaking to Bobby about how, for the first time in his career, he said that he's going for saunas and ice baths now away from the training ground to, I guess, give himself the best opportunity to play more minutes, looking at senior pros like Max and doing the same. And it seems like a simple question, but how big a part of that is in the modern game in terms of the workload? I know there's been a lot of discussion about rotation and whatnot, but just being really mindful that you're not losing players for long periods of time.
I think, look, I think I've said about it, probably this time last year, it was the first time I've managed in that way. It was always win the game, play well, keep the shirt, that's it, and just go, keep going. But we had a difficult period at the start of last season when we lost too many players for a significant chunk, and it was too much load on what was left, and we didn't win games. But there's a lot of stuff goes in there. I think, Bobby from the outside, he's 21 years old. Why can't he play every single week? But some of these lads, and I'll talk about Bobby, he's got 2 or 3 things going on with him at the minute. Muscle stiffness, soreness, that if not managed right, can turn into the next step. And we don't want to do that. So we have data, we have the expertise in the medical department, we have the conversations with the players, we see them with our own eyes, we see them when they come off, what they say to us. So Sars, for instance, after the Stockport game, when they took him off with a minute to go, because he was out on his feet, and he said that to me when he came off the pitch, and then I'm going to ask him to do it again 3 days later, and then 3 days later, and 3 days, because they're high outputters. Tyreek, Sars, Bobby. If you saw the data from last night, it's phenomenal. Josh Neville, all these boys, Jensen Metcalf, and so there's a lot of information that goes into these decisions. Ultimately, it is my decision, you know what I mean? But I know I'll use my experience of the player as well, in his history, and then what I'm going to expect him to do in the game. Because I don't, say to players, even with Tilty, because Tilty came off at half time on Saturday with something that could have took him out last night, and I sat him down on Monday and I said, 80% ain't enough tomorrow, so you got to be honest with me. You know what I mean? You know how we play. Managing yourself through a game to look after yourself is not going to help the team. And he was like, no, I can play a full game, this, that, the other. So all this stuff goes in, and then I go, right. And also is, who have I got to replace that player? Yeah. And if I haven't got the suitable player, then I might have to take more of a risk. But it's so much goes into it. I just want every week to have as many players available in a fit condition to play a game every 3 days, and to play at the level of output we have to play at to win, not just play. It's playing to win, and that's the scenario we have week in, week out. And I don't regret how we've managed the group. I don't regret it, listening, because there's no guarantees of winning anyway. You know what I mean? It's we could play our so-called best team and still get beat. Yeah. So it's but if we lose 3 or 4 players that we haven't got direct replacements for, I think that's worst scenario for us. And any success is gained over 50 games. It's not over 2 or 3, and that's what we have to look at if we can. But it's I understand it because listen, the players want to play as well. You know what I mean? But I think they've certainly the ones that have been here for a while now. I think they understand where we're coming from, and it's for their welfare and for the team's success.
Is it the hardest part of the job, trying to pick a team in the current situation?
When it's like this, yeah. I think it is. I think it is because I know I can put loads of different sort of combinations together, and they've proved it over this season and last season that they can all help us win. You know, that's the thing. So all those players that played on Saturday when I made the change, they've all helped us win in the past, or they're new and they've come from the championship and stuff like that. Why wouldn't I pick them? You know, I mean, that's the thing. You know, perhaps when people talk about the squad and the strength, and then I'm just going to pick the same 10 players, and then you guys ask me about this guy that's not playing every week and stuff like that. So it's the only way of being safe and from criticism was winning the game. If it's not, but honestly, I would go back and make the same decisions for the reasons I made the decisions. And I'd rather take the flak doing the things that I think are right for the team and the players. And if it doesn't work, it's on me. I'm comfortable with that.
Obviously, away next for you, Reading, and.
I'm joking, but yeah.
I mean, I asked this question because I remember talking to you about this last season. I can't remember at which stage of the season it was, but in regards to the away form, and you said that you had a body of work now to look at where you could see a consistent trend in that you weren't picking up as many points away from home as you'd like, and you were investigating what areas you could try and improve. And I don't know, are you going through a similar process at the moment where there's a period of time from New Year's Day onwards where you've not maybe been as good away from home as you have been previous to the season? Are you investigating to an extent what areas you can maybe try and improve when you are on that journey of being away from home?
Yeah, I think we are, because I think that's our job. Is like A, you've got to identify the issue, and then B, you've got to find a solution. But if you don't identify the issue first, you're not going to find a solution. So we're going through it. I left after the Wimbledon game. I left it be. I left it behind because our next game was a home game. But now I'm going to sort of look more into it because I just felt we would go into the game on last night as the norm. But obviously coming up to Saturday, I have to look into it. We have got ideas. I've spoke to Skip, the staff, Scott, who's got so much data and information. I've asked him about certain bits and pieces, and I think it's important that we try to find out. But the results haven't been great since January 1st. But I would take the first couple of away games out of the scenario what we're seeing, because of the level of opposition, where we were at that time with our squad and everything. But certainly I would say the Wimbledon and Luton game for us, even though people thought the Luton performance wasn't too bad and everything, I still saw some of the things that probably manifest themselves in the Wimbledon game and at a higher level. And so let me reassure everybody that we haven't given up on our way form. It's not in our language to quit or give up anything, just so that's clear, and nor of the players. But we know we can do better, and it's up to me to bring clarity to the group to be able to go, this is what we need to do just to start the process, not fix everything, but this will stand us in good stead going forward. And I think there's lots of evidence for us to give the players that idea of how we need to play. And but away games are tough for all clubs. They are. But certainly I don't feel we've fulfilled our potential as a team when we played away in the last 2 or 3 games, without a doubt.
I know it's easier said than done, not trying to build away versus home, and I suspect we don't really help in that regard as well, because it's spoken about in terms of discussion points and the like. Yeah. But you've spoken a lot about mentality, and how do you, or can you, or should you just try and eradicate those external influences of it being away versus home and just seeing it as a game of football?
Yeah, I think, look, I'd prefer it to do like that, but certainly when it builds up to something different. So like when we first came in, the home form was nowhere near. And I think our first half season, I think we were the third best team away from home in the division that year. So obviously Mark finishing, Kev taking over, then myself, across 3 different managers, we were third best team in the league away from home. But home form hadn't been there. So we talked about it and we addressed it. We didn't just hope for let's next game do this. So, and it actually started the process after the Harrogate game when we went, right, this is how we have to do it. And tried to take the pressure off players, and you've seen the results of that over the last 2 years have been amazing. But we didn't hide away from the sort of issue really. So I think it's important for us now to actually not pretend it isn't happening or pretend it's just the norm. No, let's just take it on board. That's the challenge for us. If we can maintain our home form, then great. But our challenge is, can we improve our away form and away performance? Because I think most people and ourselves understand defeat is part of football. But sometimes if you don't play anywhere near, and the goals that you can see, it's just triple whammy on top of that. I think that's been the case in the last game anyway. So no, we are going to look at talking about not coping mechanisms, but actually just little starter points mentally, because it is a mental thing. It's that. So what is the issue? I think this will help us, because we did that reframing the idea of playing at Valley Parade in the players' minds. We didn't change tactics. We didn't buy in a raft of new players. We just changed the mindset of the players, and I think that's where we can help them this time.
Just finally from me, back to team selection, just more specifically with obviously Caden's situation not yet fully known. Obviously, you've got a raft of options available to you. Stephen's come on to great effect in recent weeks. Ethan's obviously had an impact as well. You've got Paul Mullin. I know you've routinely said they're not headaches by any means, but do you have to take that on a game-by-game basis in terms of looking at the opposition firstly and then seeing how they train and searching for what might be the best combination? Yeah,
I think when we talked about the rotation thing before, how many aspects go into that. It's the same as picking a team, as in training is a big thing for me. Any player that plays with me for a long enough time understands that how important I see training. Obviously, past performance, how we want to play in that game. It's probably similar to. Which game was it? The Peterborough game when we played Caden up front for the first time. It's because I knew what I needed my front line to do to create this pressure on the opponent, and we needed a 9 who would chase everything down, press and set everything off. And I think you're right, from game to game. I mean, we don't change too much, but I think those 3 players in particular have got different attributes. So I think so that comes into it, but also just performance and how they train and where they are mentally and physically, because that all comes into it. So I think we're in a good spot with even with Caden coming off last night. I'm still looking around the bench and thinking, right, I've got some serious options there. It weren't just like, well, there's only one there and we put him on. It was I think that's a really important stage for us to get to as a squad at this level, that we can look behind and actually go, we've got several opportunities to bring on really good players. But fingers crossed I get it right. Cheers, mate.
When you talk about changing the player's mindset in the away matches as it is now, how much of that is you as a coaching team talking about it and then breaking it down almost into bullet points to the players so that you're not overloading them with information? Yeah,
look, we work with bullet points. It's like 2-3 words, bang, bang, bang. I think it's much better. Paragraphs of information and hour-long meetings. Absolutely no good. You need to work instinctively, quickly. In a game, you need to remember 1 or 2 words. So that's why we talk about fast and ambitious. What does that mean? I think that covers up 100 words by saying that. By that, that's it. So I think it's. I think that's what we have to do. But we have to give them clear ideas of on the tactical side of it, because I think it is a mindset, but there's certain things tactically that we're doing at home that we're not doing away in possession, and I think we have to give the players clarity on that, so they can. Look, the biggest thing for any person, if you're trying to find a solution, is understanding the issue first. And if we can just clarify the issue to the players, I think they'll come up with the solution themselves. So I think we've got a good way of working with that and keeping it really clear for the players. But the clarity on a Thursday, Friday in a meeting or on pitch is one thing, and then do it when you're under pressure and people are booing you and you've made a mistake, and then you have to act again. That's when your training comes into the fore and gets you through those periods.
How much do you think the fact that you haven't been able to train on grass so much as you'd like to have done over the past month or so, has that had an impact on, say, players feeling it more during a match, or the way that they're just going into games?
It did a couple of weeks ago, because I think we had maybe a week to 10 days not on the grass at all, but then there was a couple of players that couldn't train with us then, because of issues they have. So that, took them out of my mind to start the game, the following game that we had. So, but we've been on grass for the last week or so. So it's these are just things that we understand, and we don't whinge about them. We just go, right, where's the solution? Let's work to the best ability we can. But certainly has an impact on any football team if you can't train the way you would ideally like to prepare for a game. But listen, it's just another hurdle that you have to overcome over 10 months of the season. Okay, mate.
Obviously, as you say, Graham, you're waiting on the situation with Caden. I was going to ask you about Will Swan, because obviously he got injured, and since he's been off injured, you've brought 3 strikers in.
Yes.
So he's probably sort of thinking, blimey, there's a bit of competition here, a
better
lot
get
of
fit
competition. So what's the state of play with him?
Yeah, well, he was out on the grass today. So he's been with the medical team on the grass for the last week or so, and he trained with us just the first part, the first element of it, in a possession thing. So I've just spoke to him there, actually asking him how he felt with it, and he said he felt great. So we'll step it up on Friday and Saturday again. We've got a full week of training next week, which is really beneficial for the.
So that comes at a good time.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Yeah, and gives some players a break, gives some players the opportunity to work on their extra fitness and stuff, and gives people like Will Swan the opportunity to get more training sessions in with the group. So, it'll be a timely boost, certainly with Caden. Potentially dropping out that Swanee's coming back into sort of the fitness levels that he's required, because we saw the impact what he has on the team and the squad. Whether he starts a game or comes off the bench, he's really impactful for us at the start of the season.
Of course, while he's been out, it's been you get the run of midweek fixtures again, so he's probably seen all these games being ticked off, thinking I want to be part of this again. Yeah,
I think all the players are in really good mindset that they want to be involved in it. Look, why wouldn't you look at the games we're playing and look where we are in the league? So why wouldn't you want to be a part of that? So it's an exciting time for us all as a club, and the squad are right in the hub of that. So they're all desperate to be involved, and I think Swanee's the only one that's missed a significant chunk in the last month or so. But he's working exceptionally hard with really good staff to get back to the level that's required, because he understands what he needs to get to be able to play in our team. So it's I think they're all desperate to play. There's no one that the training session this morning, full-blooded lads who weren't in the match day squad last night, some on the bench, and a couple of lads who came on still training today, just desperate to play their part. And it's for me as manager, it's brilliant to see, because it's a great group to manage.
Obviously, going back to this goal last night, I mean, presumably Chris next to you was sort of like, so was he reenacting it at the time?
I think he's jealous that he didn't score a goal like that, to be honest. Honestly, he is insisting that he scored better goals, but I've not seen a better. Do you know what it reminded me of? Like, being a Cov boy is Keith Houchin in the '87 Cup final, but he was actually in open space. Yeah. What Penno did last night, going through 2 defenders, was honestly, it was phenomenal. It was an unbelievable header, and I just love that he did not take his eyes off the ball, going into bodies. Anyone could have smashed him, and he's gone that, and that's the difference between winning and not winning. And that's the line that we have to cross every single game. We cross it in training, cross it in games, and we've been crossing it for a long time. we need that intensity and that commitment. So it's I'm still going to give Skip a lot of stick about that, because it was. Honestly, I've not seen a better goal from a centre half, to be honest.
I expect all the other centre halves are trying to remember if they scored a better one as well, or try and pretend they did. You know.
Well, to be fair, I think Skip was trying to get him to buy the coffees because it was the best goal he scored in his career. Then he reminded us that he'd scored against Liverpool in front of the Kop for Everton, and I was like, right, okay, yeah, that might surpass it. So, it's look, the goals we've seen. Yeah, I mean, Caden's header the other week, Tyreek's volley, Jensen bending them in top corner. I think we've got players that are capable of, and that was a goal of a different sort of type. You know what I mean? But still high in quality from the free kick to the cross to the final header. I'm so glad it was it won the game, because it was a brilliant action.
And again, it's sharing those goals around, isn't it? Because you haven't got a goal scorer sort of on twice as many as everybody else has, as this club has had for over the years.
Yeah.
So you need that spread of goals, and coming up from. Here's someone, I think, 18 months since his previous goals. So, but they're everyone's contributing on that front.
It's been my idea of a team since day dot that everyone contributes to all sides of the game: the defending, the attacking, the goal scoring, everything. It's I think Sass is on 8, Bobby's on 8, Swanee's on 6, Humphrys on 5. Josh is on 3. That's a collective. That's a collective. That's what I love about it. So if we're missing one goal scorer, we've got 3 others. That's it. And it's hard to find that amount of players to do that. And I still think there's others that can chip in with more goals. But I like that sort of idea that it's about the group and it's about them all competing together.
Confidence as well, isn't it? Because presumably when you've got someone who scores your goals and he's not playing or he's struggling. Yeah. Those around him are probably sort of starting to think, well, who's going to score here?
But it's on any level. You know what I mean? If the captain's missing, who's going to lead? And then you go, well, it could be him, it could be him, it could be him. And who's going to score goals? Well, it could be any of these 3. That's how I see it, because the game is so tough and no one's guaranteed to play every single game. But I just think, that's just my idea of football. Other people have different ideas of it, and want the standout player, but it's not my idea of football. I think it's about the group, the collective, the team, the squad. I've seen that, and I think it's better long term that they all share that responsibility. I think it gives everyone an accountability, and I think that's important for them, because I think most people like taking responsibility, and I think that, if you trust them with it, I think they respond to it, and that's what we try to do.
Quickly on Reading, I mean, they're one of these teams that you sort of look at before the start of the season and sort of think, they're going to be up there, and they're sort of getting up there now, aren't they? Because they had a sort of slow first half of the season, but they're on the cusp of the playoff positions. Yeah,
I think that's what English football brings. It's you can have a really poor first half of the season, but you have a good month, and then you're not that far off playoffs and stuff like that. So it's like, I think it keeps. Which the playoffs did. It keeps the season alive for so much longer for so many more teams. So I think that's why we work in the way we do and build a squad and build a mentality to work over 10 months, because you have to win as many games over a really considerable amount of time if you want to be up there consistent, which we have been. 6 months we've been in these positions, but we've seen it before. I think we were 12th in January last year, and we were 3rd within 2 months or something like that. It can change quickly. So, they've done really well to get right on the verge of it. But look, the biggest thing is what we've been doing. I think we've had a superb season up to this point. The players have done so many really good things. I think there's been brilliant memories for people. I was sort of thinking about things I've heard this week about changing the way we play away from home, just eke out draws and stuff like that. Well, we've actually got more than 1 point a game away from home, so we've done better than just drawing every game. But then we wouldn't have the memory of beating Cardiff away and Stockport away and Blackburn away and Stoke away and all this. I think I'd rather our supporters and our players remember these big performances and big wins and how we went about it than just grinding out a single point here and there with that ambition. So our ambition away from home will always be in every game we'll be trying to win a game of football. So Saturday be no different, but we also understand the challenge.
So you talk about playing at pace and playing, not overthinking things.
Yep.
I mean, like the goal, the quick free kick.
Yep.
Presumably, you sort of say to the players, well, that's your blueprint, isn't it? Doesn't matter which pitch you're on, which ground you're at, who's your opponent.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. It don't matter where we are. Don't matter. That aspect is still there. So that's the thing we can control. We can't control sometimes what the opponent does or what the dead balls we can control if they're ours. We can take them as quick as we want. So that's what I'm looking for. Those little things that we that are within our control. Are we acting them on them the same as we are at home? That's what we've got to do. And that free kick scenario was exactly us at our best. Not overthink things. Bang, get the ball in, go and attack.
The guy who's not closing down Tyreek because he's sort of drifting back in, and before you know it.
Well, look, ultimately we've been a victim of that as well. Haven't we? At Wimbledon with a throw in, at Huddersfield with a throw in. That's how it can define games. It can decide games. So, and it decided the game last night. Listen, there might have been another factor later on. If it had been 0-0, we might have scored from a different scenario or something. But I think us at our best just play off instinct, and our instinct is to go forward at speed and attack the other goal. And I think that's got to be our DNA really.